Welcome along, everybody. Mark, can you outline apologies we've received for today?
Yeah, from the elected members, Chair, we've got Councillor Fisher, and from the trade union side, we've got S. Trainer from GMB and M. Simpson from Unison. And I think Marie Quigley is also an apology as well.
Yeah, Marie. Is there any other apologies from members and unions here? No. Thanks very much. Agenda item number 1 is declarations of interest. Does anybody have anything to declare? No. Excellent. Agenda item number 2 is 2 and 3 are part of the requests they brought to the meeting today from the trade unions. So the first one is the access to new employees on their induction highlight benefits. John and I obviously met at the pre-meeting, which was the reason why this was brought on. Is John on the meeting today? No.
Dash just sent a message to say he can't access the WebEx, so I don't know if one of his Unison colleagues can pick up this item.
Could anybody pick up on it? I know John had mentioned it and we did discuss it at the pre-meeting, and sort of advice was given at that point.
No, I can probably pick it up, Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, since you were part of it.
I know what John had intended, so I'll pick that up if my Unison colleagues are all right with that. I'll pick it up on his behalf. It certainly relates to a paper that we're going to cover later, and it's to do with a request from the trade union that employees, as part of their induction, are given access to information. So I think John had requested that we encourage people who join the council to join the union and give the details over to the union. That's not necessarily something we would support, but we would certainly, I think it's that individual's choice. So we don't necessarily want to be seen as employer to be promoting it one way or the other, but we will give them access to information and make sure we work with our trade union colleagues to allow new entrants to the council to have all information they need to make that choice about joining the requisite union. So we are happy to support that, and I think indeed we said we'd put some information onto our MyNL page and make sure it's signposted as part of the induction process, so hopefully that covers it. But I'm certainly happy to take any questions from my union colleagues if they have any at this point on that matter.
Thanks, Fiona. We have Councillor Douglas in the chat bar first.
Hi, thank you, Councillor Duffy. Fiona, it was just, is the wording of a request for trade unions to have access to new employees? Would that mean that they would have like contact details for each new employee? Or, because I'm a bit concerned about that. I would prefer if there was a pack saying you have the right to join a union and this is their contact details. So if you want to make that step, whereas I'm not particularly comfortable, because the last thing I want is for people being inundated saying, please join us from, different unions. Because obviously there would be a major data issue there. It's just the wording of it would indicate that the trade unions get personal details for every employee, which I would be uncomfortable with that. But the other way around, saying these are the trade unions you can join, and this is the contact details, I would be okay with that certainly, but not the way that it's worded at the minute. Thank you.
That's fine, Councillor Douglas. That's the direction of travel we would prefer to go in. And we've had that discussion. I think there would be data protection issues anyway with us sharing any kind of details for new staff members with any external parties. So if the trade unions are happy, the direction you've outlined, Councillor Douglas, is the direction that we would be proposing as an answer to this.
Thanks very much. Is there any other comments in regards to that piece?
I think Joanne Baxter's looking to come in.
Joanna, sorry, I don't have everybody on the screen, Joanna, so I can't. There we go. On you go, Joanna. Thanks.
No worries. Listen, I appreciate the concerns around GDPR. I don't think anyone on the trade union side would expect an employer to breach GDPR. I think perhaps it's worded the way that it is because in many other areas and employers, we are given access to employees by way of being able to present to new employees at their induction meetings. Clearly that doesn't work for all sectors or services, because obviously you might not be recruiting on bulk in any of those, and therefore have a group of people who are going through an induction at the same time. But where that is the case, very often the trade unions are allowed to give a couple of minutes presentation to employees at their induction. So I suspect that is why John has requested it in the form that he has. But generally, we would just be looking to ensure that new employees are aware that there are recognised trade unions, and that there's a productive industrial relations environment, and that there is information accessible and available to them to inform them of their choices in relation to which unions they may wish to join.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Any further comments? No, thanks very much. Agenda item number 3 again is the request brought by the trade union. Fiona, do you want to give a brief overline of this one too?
Sure, as I say, this is the item that will be covered later in the paper. In fact, it's the next item about reasonable adjustments. So we're more than happy to support that as part of the process, that where we move to a new contractual arrangement with a particular member of staff, if that member of staff then wishes to make that contractual arrangement different or more flexible to meet their particular needs, we would consider applications under the reasonable adjustment assessment scheme. So just to say, that's absolutely part of the process going forward, and it was a specific request from Joan and from Unison. Happy to take any other points or questions.
Thanks, Fiona. Does anybody have anything on that? No. Thanks very much. Number four is the future workforce model development, and Audrey, you're going to take us. Jennifer's going to take us through this, and Audrey's going to pick up some points in it as well.
Great, thanks, Councillor Duffy. Good afternoon, everybody. The purpose of this report is to update the JCC on work underway to develop our future workplace model. Whilst no decision on the model has been reached, as this is due at CMT on the 19th of October, I thought it was important just to note some of the engagement work that has been undertaken to understand the views of the staff across all the services in the council. So 2 homeworking surveys have been undertaken, and some of the key results are included in the report at 2.9 and onwards. Almost 300 managers and over 1,400 employees completed the surveys, which was a response rate of over 70% for those who are currently working from home for some or part of the time. Focus groups have also taken place with staff, with over 220 of them attending. The engagement in these sessions has been really productive. They've been really, really good sessions for myself to be involved in, and for the staff as well. And many staff have commented that they have found the sessions worthwhile, and they would actually like more of the same in future. This did give us a real opportunity to talk to staff about how the last 18 months have been for them and what the future might look like as we go forward with the new model. We've also recently sent out a frontline workers survey to gather views of staff in our frontline services and to help us shape how they might access facilities and what flexibility they would like in future. And this survey remains open but has almost 600 responses to date. We've also met with our trade union colleagues to give them early sight on some of the themes coming from these engagement sessions, and following the CMT on the 19th, we're keen to continue a high level of engagement with trade union colleagues on what our future workplace would look like. Some of the key themes to come from the engagement sessions are noted in the report from 2.19 onwards, along with an update on the hub facilities and the provision within them for flexible workspaces. And just as Councillor Duffy mentioned, there is another item that we'd like to pick up as part of the general update, and I'll hand back to Fiona for this, if that's okay. I'm also happy to take any questions on the future workplace report.
Thanks, Jennifer. Fiona.
Yep, so if there's no questions for Jennifer, we're just going to take this opportunity, Councillor Duffy, to ask Audrey Cameron to come in and to talk about some work that she has been involved in to do with a proposal for a race work charter. Now, some of the elected members that are on this committee have been involved in that work, but we really just wanted also to make sure it was fully highlighted and that the trade unions were aware of the direction of travel on this work. So I'll just ask Audrey to come in and highlight the key points.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Fiona, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. as Fiona mentioned, I just wanted to bring to your attention the Council's intention to sign up to the Business and the Communities Charter. And the Charter provides a framework for employers to take practical steps to ensure their workplaces are tackling barriers that minority ethnic people face in the workplace. It asks employers to commit to 5 calls to action to ensure that ethnic minority employees are represented at all levels and that their organisations reflect British society today. And signing up to the Charter is an action that came from the Council's Black Lives Matter working group. A few of your members are here today, as Fiona mentioned. The 5 calls to action are, the first one is about appointing an executive sponsor for race. And the second one is capturing ethnicity data and publicising progress. The third is about committing at board level, or in our case, committee level at the council, to zero tolerance of harassment and bullying. The fourth is about making clear that supporting equality in the workplace is the responsibility of all leaders and managers. And the fifth is about taking action that supports ethnic minority career progression. And although we already undertake most of the 5 asks of the Charter, to some extent we will use it to strengthen our approach and fill any gaps within our Race Equality and Employment Action Plan. Also, having an open public commitment like a Charter will let our current and prospective employees know of our commitment, and hopefully will aid engagement with BAME employees, and ultimately the diversity in our organisation will mirror our communities. And we're now seeking approval from CMT, and we'll aim to sign the Charter during October and Black History Month. And that's just a quick resume of what the Charter aims to achieve. If there's any questions from anyone?
Thanks, thank you, Audrey. Does anybody have any questions in relation to item number 4 or to Audrey on what she's just discussed there as well? Nope. So we can agree to note that report. Thanks very much. And lastly is the health and safety update at number 5, and Fiona Duddy's going to talk to this.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So this report just gives a brief update on some of the work being done as the council progresses out of COVID, and also an update on where the lone worker solution is at. So 2.1 details the decision to review services and identify where it would be appropriate to reduce social distancing from 2 metres to 1 metre with supporting mitigating measures in place. Any services who have decided to implement this approach have revised their risk assessment accordingly and agreed mitigating measures that would remain in place to protect employees. 2.2 provides information on the potential return to pre-COVID use of vehicles. This has been discussed at an initial stage with the trade unions around waste moving back to this position and taking on the trade union views around this. Further discussion will take place once the trade unions have had a chance to go over a revised risk assessment and also indicating what the proposed mitigating measures would be. So 2.1 and 2.2 both cover areas of progression that will be done in a cautious manner. The council has managed to maintain service provision throughout the pandemic, so at this late stage we will only move forward where we are comfortable that the mitigating measures in place protect our employees and those who can be affected by our work. Any changes that do take place will remain under review, as will the associated risk assessment. So I need to apologise, 2.6 should actually be 2.3. I clearly thought I had a bit more I wanted to say and I had jumped ahead. So 2.3 is just an update on the lone worker system and how that was being progressed. So I'm pleased to say the manager training has been carried out, and we're now preparing for the employees to receive their devices and training. And the device that they're getting is an ID badge carrier, which gives them 3 options: a check-in, check-out function, which follows up if they don't check out, a panic button that also, when activated, starts to record what's happening and escalates to seek help for the individual who's pressed it. And thirdly, an option to have someone listening if an employee is concerned at any point, for example, someone returning to their car. They can use that, they can check in and someone basically listens to their, until they're comfortable and they can say, that's me back in my car, or whatever the situation is. So we also have a phone app which will be trialled, and this offers the check-in, check-out function and a panic button which sits on the phone screen. So once the devices are issued and operational, we intend to follow that up at 3-month marker and gather feedback, and we will report back accordingly to the various groups. I'm happy to answer any questions on any aspect of the report.
Thank you, Fiona. Does anybody have Any comments or questions to Fiona for item 5? Nope. It's been agreed to note the report and have a lovely afternoon.